B103.9.
Morning sun lights the day, Pat and Brian on the way. Stories of a small town life. Sports and joy cut like a knife. Hot stove league and full chat. High school dreams and college stats. Wednesday morning tales unfold, memories and news retold. Tune in B103.9, Currie's voice and life's sweet line. Sheriff Miller by his side, lively bluegrass, hearts of life.
Brought to you by Zott's Bar and Grill in Big Rapids, and we say good morning to Pat Currie, Sheriff Brian Miller, and a room full of friendly folks this morning.
Yeah, right. Well, we got two probably the best play-by-play voices in America. I was just talking about it yesterday in the gas station. There was somebody about Rob Bentley. Rob and Sandy are here with us. Voice of Bulldogs. And I said, you know, it's amazing, as good as he is, that somebody hasn't picked him up. And they said, you know, they have been people want him to come over to the big time and this and that, but he loves Big Rapids and loves our area and wants to raise his children here and blah, blah, blah. Wife loves it here. She's a great teacher, and we're lucky to have them both here. But we've had a lot of great guests on, but I don't think we've had anybody like these two. Ferris is very fortunate to have both of them. I've known Sandy since he started in Big Rapids. I am not sure where you came from, what town. I guess we never got there. Sandy Gholson.
I'm a Detroit guy, born and raised in Detroit. And, knew a number of people who had gone to Ferris and spoke really highly of Ferris, and came on a visit in 1993. And with the exception of probably 2 years, I've been here ever since.
Wow, yeah. I've known you since then, probably, too.
Yeah, I wrote about your son when, like Adam, when he was in high school, and I'm showing my age. A lot of people, yeah. A lot of people that are doing big things in the community. I wrote about them when they were in high school.
I know you did a great job for the Pioneer there for a lot of years, didn't you?
That was a lot of fun. Yeah, I first came to the Pioneer in 1997, and I worked there as a sports reporter and picked up a lot of skills: sports reporter, photographer, graphic design, doing a lot of different things. Did that for about 11 years before getting into the marketing department at Ferris and starting in that career, that next phase of my career.
Well, you know, it's funny how God takes you through this path of life. And believe me, I've seen mine. Wow, it's been something else. But yours, the thing that benefited you, I feel anyway, is you got to know the touch of the community working for the Pioneer back then. Yes. Where if you'd have went just right to Ferris, you would have never known that outside circle. And that being that said, has that helped you a lot in your job now today? Back, you knew all these people from Big Rapids.
Yeah, Pat, I don't think there's any question about that. I had a chance to get to know a lot of people, including Sheriff Miller. Knowing him for a long, long time, and just getting to know so many people in the community and getting to know kids when they were in Little League and Rocket football, and watching them through middle school, and Brian and I coached against each other in middle school, 1 year, so we know each other there, and seeing all those kids grow up, and I'm sure Brian could say the same thing. You see those kids grow up, and, you want to put down roots in the community. I bought a house in the community and feel really comfortable here, and I think it really helped me when I got into Ferris and knowing people around the community and being able to bring that element as a community member. I serve on the Parks and Recreation Board for the city of Big Rapids as well, and so I definitely feel embedded in this community.
Talk about your childhood a little bit. What school did you go to? Elementary?
I went to Edison Elementary. It's on Grand River, just about 4 or 5 blocks down from where I grew up in Detroit. And it's still a school today, and it's a really good neighborhood. It's the Grandmont Rosedale Park area, one of the better neighborhoods in Detroit. And so I feel very fortunate to have grown up in that neighborhood and worked my way up through through middle school and through high school. And it's just, a great experience growing up in Detroit, and really helped shape a lot of things, and had a chance to live big city life growing up, and certainly have an appreciation now for being in a small, friendly community, smaller community. There's certainly benefits to that as well.
Yeah. How about mom and dad? What'd they do?
My dad worked at Ford. He worked at Ford Motor Company. He got a job right out of high school. When you could do that, it's a little bit harder to do that now. Right. And my mom worked as an administrator for the government in downtown Detroit, in the McNamara building in downtown Detroit, and she did that for a number of years. And she retired. She's been retired almost as long as I've been alive. So I mean, she's really? she went in, got her time, and again, back then you take a civil service exam and you could get you could maybe qualify for a really good job. My older brother, he lives in South Carolina with his wife, and so. Yeah, he's doing really well.
You play sports in high school then?
I did soccer, basketball, in high school. A little bit of football, dabbled in that a little bit. So yeah, a little bit of everything. Tried to have a lot of
all right. So you come out of Detroit, you come to a small town like Big Rapids. How did you feel when you came here? Were you very comfortable with the greetings that you got? Did you see any animosity or dissension or hatred or?
No, I don't know. I think coming in, I would split it into 3 different phases. So coming in as an undergraduate student, I think I was 19 years old when I came here, and so I had that experience, and it was a positive experience being in the community, in and around the community from a college student's perspective. And then I would say the next phase was when I worked at the Pioneer and I became an adult professional working in the community, and that we talked about that a little bit earlier, getting a chance to to go out to the Rocket football games and the AYSO soccer and all that other stuff, and getting to know the kids and the parents, the families, the community members. And you go to Detroit and you say, hey, I know the sheriff, I know the mayor's one of my neighbors, and people are like, really? I'm like, yeah. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so, I've had just really positive experiences in that regard. And I think Big Rapids has definitely been a welcoming community. And definitely, I would, if somebody's thinking about working at Ferris or working in municipal government here in Big Rapids, and they want my advice, I'm going to tell them, hey, come here and visit, and I'd be happy to show you around. I think you'll find this is a very welcoming community.
I agree with you, but the one thing about it is when you came here, you didn't come with a chip. You came here with that big smile of yours, and, and you didn't expect anything free. Yeah. You just came and said, hey, I'm going to do the best I can do for my family and myself, and we saw that in you.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, like I said, I've known you for, 30 years now or almost, right?
Close.
Hell, it is 31, right?
Yeah. I came in and, I remember, covering Big Rapids, football games when I 1997, and Nick Scheibele, he was the quarterback.
Yeah.
Tyler Schuberg was the star wide receiver.
Yeah.
And so those are a couple of guys that are big members of our community.
Yeah.
And so I got a chance to get to know those guys. I've known them since they were in high school, and so I got to know Bill Scheibele. Bill Scheibele was coaching with the Cardinals at that time. He was on Randy Park's staff, and so got a chance to get to know him a little, and then got a chance to know you, and of course Sheriff Miller being a fellow Ferris State alum. So,
Bulldogs.
Oh yeah, yes, sir.
Homecoming week.
Yeah. Big week, homecoming for sure.
All right, so now, that being said, and you watch sports for the last 30 years in Big Rapids, do you feel that you could pinpoint the best football team we've ever had here?
I'm trying to think. You know what? It's tough. That team that I was talking about with Nick and Tyler, that was Nick Allen was on that team.
Right.
He was a beast. Steve Benzing.
Yeah.
Just a lot of guys that were really. That was a good team, and they missed out on the playoffs narrowly that year.
Shouldn't have.
And they would have been a beast in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Phil Fortier had a great team. Rob and I were talking about that. We were talking about that the other day, and that was a really good football team. Had a chance to. They played Whitehall at Top Taggart. That was a great game. Huge crowd. Had a chance to go and cover that game for the Pioneer.
Yeah. Well, you didn't answer my question.
Yeah.
You are typical. No, I'm just. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, saying. But no, really. So
that's a good interview.
What you're saying is probably the Nick Scheibele team. I kind of I probably give them the nod because they had some wide receivers.
Yeah.
Speed. I can't remember the kid's name, but I think he went to Northwood.
I think Steve Benzing went to Northwood. Oh, they had Alan Hatchu was a great.
Alan was very. And then you had that line.
Yeah, John Gilmore.
Yeah, we have a great team this year. Not taking nothing away from last year's team or Fortier's team with the Meredith on it.
Yeah,
they had some great teams, but all around, I know I were talking about it. Just this is a sports program. I like talking about who's the best of the best. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to have to give the team that Shibley and
I would too. I think those
Tyler.
guys were physically matured at a level where they were like college guys playing high school.
Yeah.
Because
And it didn't hurt to have Bill as a coach too.
he would definitely say that.
Yeah, because
I'm just kidding, Bill. I love you, Bill. Nothing but love.
I'm not puffing smoke, but I'm just telling you, Bill
Bill
worked
was
with
good.
his
He
son,
was good.
and he took a lot of pride in that game at those 2, 3, 4 years.
And that's a great point, Pat, because Bill did not just coach Nick. I mean,
No.
he coached that whole team. I
Right.
remember distinctly going to their practices down when they were at the old Mitchell Creek, stadium down there, and he definitely coached the whole team. He was in it not just for Nick, but for that whole team.
Right. Now, let's give credit where credit due. The head coach that got Bill and everybody in there was Randy Park,
Randy
right?
Park, yes.
Yeah, and Randy, he was a tremendous asset to Big Rapids, not only as a player, but a special education teacher and a coach. I just love him to death, and he's contributed to a lot to Big Rapids.
And we have Randy right now that comes into our jail as a ministry, faith ministry, Reach the Forgotten. So
Oh, that's
Randy,
awesome.
Yeah,
Did
he
not
comes
know
into
that.
our jail now and meets with a lot of our inmates. So
Basketball.
Continuing.
Yeah, basketball. All right. Putting you on the spot here, Sandy. But you've been around for 30 years. Now, I'm not, these guys, we had some great teams in the 70s and in the 50s. I remember my dad talking about Gary Wells' team back in the 50s when they got shunned by getting a state championship. They truly should have got it, but the refs gave it away. That happens. That's part of life. But moving along, in your time basketball team, what basketball team do you think Big Rapids, what stands out with you?
Oh, there's been some good ones. That team. We were just talking about that era of football. There were some good teams. Tyler Schuberg was a really good player. They had Jared Bloomquist, who was a good player.
Jared, used to dunk
Jared could light it up from the outside. Alan Hatchew was good, very athletic.
Brendan Walsh.
Vanderpool.
Brendan Walsh, that's a great point.
Brendan Walsh.
Now a head coach at Reed City. That was a really good team. A couple years ago we had a good team.
With Dimitri Martin and that group.
Yep. That was a good team too.
You talk about, I'm never one to blame refs or anything because I refed for a long time. But
Well, blame yourself.
But at that game, that was a game that I think we should have won, but I think the refs took that from us. Anybody that was at the Breslin Center that day can attest.
Yeah.
There were a couple calls that I thought held us back, and then I think Stevensville Lakeshore ended up beating us. But
that was a tough one. That was one of the teams. That was probably the team I was thinking about right off the top of my head. As the top Big Rapids teams, certainly in terms of accomplishment. Where they were able to get. But even a little bit ago, we had the Duns, and they looked like they could maybe get a nice run, and got tripped up a little bit. But we've been fortunate to have some good teams. We had some different head coaches, but we've had some good teams here for the Cardinals.
Big Rapids is always pretty competitive, but we have great facilities here. Like in football now, everybody would love to play football here. I mean, I hear it from the north, the east, the west side. Everybody says, wow, you guys got an awesome field. So we take pride in that. How about this tennis, John Coles? How well do you know John Coles? Rob wants to talk.
We've met a couple times. Yeah.
What do you think of that guy?
Yeah.
With his tennis program, do you follow tennis at all?
I do. What's funny? You mentioned that. When I first came here, one of the sports that I really got into early was Ferris State's tennis teams because they were really, they still are. I mean, but they were winning, especially the women's team. They were winning champion. You go in that racket and fitness center and you got all those banners. They were winning championship after championship after championship. And so we were covering the women's and men's tennis teams, and they had some good ones. So I really got into tennis, and John's doing a really great job, and they got a great group of players right now, and it's just been fun to really follow. I haven't had a chance to go out and actually watch them yet, but it's really been fun to follow their progress. And I know Rob tearing himself away from girls golf and watching his daughter. He probably gets a chance to follow them a little
all
bit.
conference, right?
All conference and conference championship this year. So
awesome.
It's been a great season so far.
Well, Rob, do you ever pinch yourself, or Rob, Sandy, do you ever pinch yourself in the morning and say, thank you, God, for the gift that you gave me, the job that you've given me, and the community you live in? You got security here with your job. Obviously, you've done a great job. You're living in one of the nicest communities. I know we've got some problems right now with some people, but that's their problem, not the community's problem. I don't think anyway. So, what would you be doing if you weren't doing what you're doing today? What do you think you'd be doing? Is there any other thing that you'd want to do?
You know, it's interesting. It's funny with Sheriff Miller here. You know, we grew up. I grew up in Detroit, and you know, across the street, one of my best family friends was, you know, a lieutenant. Now he's a commander, precinct commander for, you know, Detroit Police Department, and so I had a chance to be exposed to law enforcement at a young age, and I got a great impression. Our whole neighborhood did. You know, growing up. Fraser Shaw, he was across the street from us, and he just, we learned a lot about law enforcement because he put a human face on it for us. And so I was very fortunate, and I think that helped shape my experience quite a bit growing up, and I feel very fortunate for that, you know. And I also feel very fortunate to live in this community and to get to know Brian and get to know others in law enforcement, get to know others in government, in city government, local government, county government. And I feel that really is a part of getting to know your fellow community members. I think is really, really important, and getting out and kind of breaking down some of those barriers. And so I've been fortunate to be able to do that over the years. And you know, when I look, you know, I know it's a somber thing, but I look forward to the Police Memorial to get a chance to meet, you know, law enforcement, to meet the community members, and you know, it's a solemn occasion, but at the same time, it brings people together, you know.
All right, now you saying that you had a mentor, obviously. And whoever raised you, your mom and dad have done a great job because you are a diversified fellow. Do you miss the big city with the amenities that they have and stuff that we don't have?
You know what? I always tell people this. I said, you know, it's close enough that when you know, if I want to go watch the Tigers, or if I want to go to a Lions game, or, you know, if you want to go down, I want to go down and visit my mom down in Detroit, you know, I can go and do that if I want to, but, you know, I'm comfortable. You know, I'm comfortable. I like the pace. You know, I like the lifestyle. I like going out and, you know, I'm a photographer, you know, I like to go out and shoot nature photography and go out and walk, and, you know, it's nice and comfortable to go out and have a walk around the community, around campus, or wherever. And so, I enjoy it. I'm comfortable.
He's done a good job taking photographs at Big Rapids High School football games recently.
That's been a blast. You know, Pat mentioned the stadium, and that was my first time in the stadium.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, we'll come back to you in a little bit here, but thank you very much, Sandy.
Hey.
Now, it's not our second part of our program.
Why don't we take a quick break?
We need
I
a
was
break.
going to get to that.
Get a break?
Yeah, you can gear up.
Jen, I was going to get to that. Bob, why don't we take a break?
Okay.
Our sponsor, Scott. There.
If I don't butt in and say that, then Jen's out.
No, I was going to say it, but you wouldn't give me a chance.
She just
we got to pay these bills.
Yeah. Quick bill. All right, here comes Zots. It's B103.9. Come say cheers at Zots Bar and Grill in Big Rapids. Great food, great prices, and great people, where everybody knows your name. Zots, people's choice for best soup. You don't want to miss their award-winning burgers and chili as well. Originally opened in 1933 and serving it up ever since. Seasonal beers on tap. Located at 732 North State Street in Big Rapids. Roxanne and Doug at Zots Bar and Grill are proud sponsors of the Signature Player of the Week for the Curries Hot Stove League every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. All right, we're back. Here we go.
We are already? My God, we got a lot of sponsors.
Yeah.
All right, well, Steve the oil guy will be on next time. Big
Rapids Tire will be on next time.
Big Rapids Tire.
Whatever.
Yeah, Big
But
Rapids
anyway,
Tire.
let me have a drink here.
Big Rapids Tire.
You guys want to water?
Jen has a question for Sandy, and I'm going to have her ask you that question a little bit later in the program. Rob Bentley, you are, I know, got to be sought after for your play-by-play. I sometimes don't even really care, like when you guys won Saturday night big, it's hard to listen to a game that you're up by 50, 60, 70 points. But you make it so like it's, wow, this is a really good game to listen to. Don't you agree, Sandy? I mean, you two are really good. And you complement each other. But, Rob, growing up, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in southwest Nebraska, a town called McCook, which was about the size of Big Rapids. So grew up in a community about this size, was active in sports growing up. My dad was one of my coaches in youth sports, played high school football, was involved in basketball, and then got an opportunity coming out of high school to go to the University of Nebraska at Kearney, which is a Division II school, a lot like Ferris, and was a student assistant in the men's basketball program. I had a relationship with my high school coach, whose father was the head coach there, and I ended up spending 8 years there between my undergraduate, my graduate school, was part of the coaching staff, and had a great mentor, Tom Kropp, that played in the NBA for several years back in the 1970s, and really fell in love with the game of basketball and college athletics just working for him. And was looking for an opportunity when I got out of graduate school. My wife and I had just got married and ended up here at Ferris State. So we were going to stay a year, and it's been 25 years now. So
yeah,
it's a long year.
Tom Kernovic?
He was the first AD I had here at Ferris State. So, I've worked for 3 different ADs now. They've all been different in some form, but they've all been outstanding people to work for. Tom's a guy that's still a very good friend of mine. I stay in touch with him. Perk Weisenberger came in and, really kind of elevated our program. And he was a guy that taught me a ton about the business side of college athletics. And then, obviously Steve Brockelbank now has kind of picked up where he left off. And Steve's, one of the greatest guys there is and outstanding to work for.
Yeah, I've known most of them my whole life. Dean Davenport, and goes back to even before him, Curries, I think, was the AD at one time. My dad followed Ferris football and basketball his whole life, and went to many, many games in Winks Arena. He was a good friend of Mr. Winks. And you take us boys to it. That place used to be packed. I think Andy's getting it packed again now. And I think Saul did too. He tried his best. But there's so many other sports now. There wasn't hockey back then. There wasn't a lot of competition for the game of basketball. Now there is. But anyway, Tom Kernovic hired you. He made a good move there. Your wife's a teacher here.
Yeah, and I got to give credit to Tom, on that as well. He was part of the school board when we got here to Big Rapids. My wife, I think, taught at Chippewa Hills the first year we were here just to get a job, and he got her into the Big Rapids public school system, and so I thank him for that as well.
And you have how many children?
We have 2. So I have my oldest daughter, Addison, just is a freshman at CMU this year. So enjoying college life here in the first month or so, and then my youngest daughter, Ava, is a junior at Big Rapids High School.
How'd you get into broadcasting?
Well, listen to that voice. Huh? Listen to the voice.
I know. Oh, no, I know. I love it. I'm just, one thing about you talk so fast, but so clear. Like myself, we don't do that, do we, Brian?
No, you do great.
Well, not as good. I mean, you have such a... your words are just precise. You understand everything you say. Like when you're at a football game or a basketball game and it's really a rush going on, you feel like you bring us right into the game. Like we're not there. I'm serious, Rob. You bring us into the game. We're like, wow, we're there. I mean, he is that exciting, and I think that's just a gift that God has given you. But where did you start your broadcasting?
I started actually kind of like Sandy. I wanted to be a sports writer at one time, and did that in high school and in college. I had a chance though to work at a radio station in my hometown for a couple summers, and had a couple great people that really kind of taught me kind of the business side of it, and just kind of picked that up from here. When I got here to Ferris State, that wasn't part of my job the first year or two, and we were looking for a basketball announcer to get basketball back on the radio, and Tom came to me and asked me if I was interested in doing it. So I said I'd do it, and I remember doing my first game at Gannon University and being up in this little crow's nest, and it probably wasn't very good at the time, but that's kind of where I got my start in terms of doing the play-by-play here.
And so it just took off from there.
Yep.
Now you do basketball and football.
Do basketball and football are the 2 primary ones. I do soccer, for our Flow Sports stream. We do softball for our Flow Sports stream. Friday night, Sandy and I are doing hockey, filling in, doing a hockey broadcast. So I think I've done 2 hockey games before, so this will be my 3rd one on Friday night.
Well, how could anybody do better than you in hockey or any sport? I'm telling you, you're a pro at this.
I
like
will say
now.
You guys are like listening to Ernie Harwell, in all honesty.
He's better.
I mean, or Dan Dickerson.
Yeah. But so you're doing a little bit of hockey. I bet I haven't listened to a game yet. I have to.
Well, I grew up in western Nebraska, so there was no hockey. So I didn't know hockey until I got here to Ferris State. But obviously being around Coach Daniels and his program for 25 years, you learn a lot about it, and I've got some great memories just being with that hockey team, going to the Frozen Four back in 2012, and they're a fun group to be around, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, now you have a program up at Ferris you do weekly, right?
Yeah, we do a number of different things. We do a TV show that airs across northern Michigan, Ferris Sports Update, which airs on Wednesday nights, and I get to host that and really interact with some coaches, some student athletes on that show that's produced by our television digital media production program.
We talked about football. Tony Anise has done a great job there. I bet you're having time of your life right now because you're winning a lot of games, and you've been to the Nationals and all that, and you and Sandy and basketball. I was there in 18 when Andy won that. You announced that, eh?
Yeah, we did, and that was obviously an awesome memory for me. Never thought that was going to be possible, and for what he was able to do with that team, and then obviously Coach Anise. I'm fortunate that I have great relationships with both of those guys, and work closely with them, and they kind of let us handle our side of things in terms of really exposing their programs and promoting their programs.
That going back to 18 in the championship game. Played Sioux Falls, was it, or
we played Northern State out of South Dakota?
Yeah,
it was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Okay, yeah. Rex Schuberg and I went out there together with his buddy from Muskegon. I can't remember a lot of it, but I do remember the game. And was that probably your best game you ever announced that will go down in history in your mind that you were a part of?
I'd say that's the most exciting one that we've been a part of. I think just winning that first national championship. The two football ones were pretty special as well, but the games weren't as close and didn't go down to the wire like the basketball one did, and that being the first one, was just an amazing memory.
Yeah, I looked at that, and there was probably, I don't know, would you say 500 Ferris State fans?
And about 3,000 Northern State fans.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, Andy kept those guys quiet and just had them focused, and gosh, it was just a destiny, wasn't it? But going into that game, what was your thoughts?
I thought we had a chance to win the game going in just based on how we had played that week. Obviously it was a great season, but, I think our guys were a great group of guys to be around. They really wanted to win, and they put in the effort and the energy to be able to do that. And, a tremendous run that, I don't think will ever be duplicated.
I know. Well, the tools are hard to come by, but Ferris seems like they don't need the tools. They just need the people to believe in themselves. And somehow we've done that at Ferris State. It doesn't matter what sport it is. You look at volleyball right now. Tia, wow, what an outstanding coach she is, and her husband. And for somebody like that to stay here as long as she has, that says a lot about Ferris and their character. I mean, they built her new gym finally, or whatever you want to call it. I got to go, actually, Friday night. They play here, don't they?
They do, and they're ranked 5th in the nation, undefeated at 12-0 after last night. So.
I know. Well, we had them in here a couple of weeks ago, right, Brian?
Right. It was awesome.
Yeah, and, one thing the three players in her had was they all watched each other. It's just like they must do that on the court, too, to see what their reaction.
They did. They fed off each other.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I noticed that, and they were smiling. I mean, they were just happy people.
Good people.
And that coach, you could see, instilled that confidence of that in them. She has been in and out. One of the best in the GLIAC, isn't she?
Yeah. I think we've been blessed to have outstanding coaches that come here, really have success and want to stay here in this community. When you look at Coach Anise, Coach Bronkema, Coach Tia Branda-Wilhelm, Coach Daniels has been here 33 years. So there's a lot of longevity with our coaches, and I think that's played a big part in the success.
Talking about success and big part of it, but what is it about Ferris that keeps those guys here? Because, we're not a Grand Valley where you go down to Allendale, you got everything. You got theaters, you got dance places, you got bars, you got eateries. You got the Lake Michigan down the road on Lake Michigan Drive. You got Holland, you got everything over. You go to Saginaw, you got Saginaw Bay. I mean, you got a lot of things to entice you to want to live there. Northwood, look at Midland. How do you get a better city than that to live in? They got a semi-pro baseball team there to all kinds of entertainment. Big Rapids. What is it about? Help me understand what it is about us as a community that draws such great people. I mean, like yourself and Sandy and Andy. Surely he's had a chance to leave. Tony Anise, probably one of the best Division II football players besides Brian Kelly there ever was. I had to throw Brian Kelly in there because hopefully Shively's listening. Bill does not like Brian Kelly.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
To do that. But got to lighten it up a little bit, right, Bobby? But funny. Anyway, what is it? Is there one sentence maybe or one word that you would say that, Sandy, why are you still here? Because I know you've had your chances to go
I would say the same thing that I said for myself. I think community. Actually, it's interesting you mentioned that because I'm working on a story, and Rob's been helping me on a story about the longevity of several of our coaches, and particularly Coach Daniels, Tia, and Andy. And I think one of the things that they really talked about was finding a home here, and Tony talked about that with his assistant coaches too, finding a home here in this community. Tony's been able to keep his football staff together, and Rob has seen this too. And that's extraordinary. When you have the success that we've had, people come looking for your assistant coaches. Like, wait a minute, these assistant coaches have got to be a huge part of the reason for the success, and they have been. But they really love being in this community.
Yeah, look at Tesla and Ryan Hodges.
Grant Caserta, Ryan Hodges. Ryan Hodges is a former Bulldog, and I covered him when he was in college, when he was playing corner for us back in the day.
I think what Tony does, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think he really lays on the line that you are important to us. We are as a team. It's not Tony Anise. We as a team are going to do this together, don't you think?
Certainly, and I think he gives these guys an opportunity. No one's going to outwork our coaching staff in terms of what they do out in recruiting. He finds kids that need an opportunity, and he brings them here, and they have a ton of love. That's kind of what their program's based off of, is just coaches caring for those student athletes, whether it's on the field or off the field. You walk down our hallways and you see football players down in the offices, just sitting in one of the coaches' offices, talking all day. There's always somebody in there.
Jumping on to Andy, he reminds me of a guy that's a no-nonsense guy. You're going to do it this way. We're a team. We're not one guy individual is going to get us a championship. And he's gotten rid of some of those guys that over the years that thought they were all that and then didn't work as a team, hasn't he?
He has, and he does a great job of really taking the pieces and molding them into a team. What you see on the first week of the season isn't going to be the same team you see at the end of the year. There's a continual progression, and he's had a lot of guys that just get better and better. We got a kid right now, Nate Clairbout, who's a 7-foot kid that hasn't seen the court the last couple of years, and I think he's going to have a big impact this year just because he's made so much improvement here in the offseason from what I've seen.
And one other thing I want to add to that too, I think last year's team that Andy had is a perfect example of that. That was a team that was the sum of all of its parts. And a lot of guys that came together, and we obviously called the games all year, and it was close to the edge. Like, are we going to make the NCAA tournament?
I know it.
And we had a great run up in Marquette to win the GLIAC tournament. Yeah. And you're like, well, hey, we're in the NCAA tournament. Let's see what happens. We go to Indianapolis, we beat them, and then we win the regional championship, and we get to the Elite Eight. And I think, Andy really rallied those guys together. We got healthy at a good time, and those guys were clicking at a great time.
I know. I went to a few games last year, and talking to him, he always is confident, though. And Andy's not going to tell you he's thinking about getting beat. But he handles defeat well. When he gets beat, he gets beat. That's part of life, But you guys, when I say you guys, Ferris State, we as a whole, really were resilient at the end. I watched them and got beat by Northern. I thought, you could never beat Northern. They're absolute the best in the GLIAC. And then when I listened to you guys on radio and they beat them up there, it's like, wow. Of course, you had to get, who'd you beat the first game? Grand Valley?
We beat Grand Valley in the championship game of the GLIAC.
We beat Wayne State.
Yeah.
Wayne State in the semifinals.
Yeah. We beat Northern in the regional tournament.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Down in Indianapolis. And and our women's basketball team had a great year too. And Kurt did a great job of rallying our women's basketball team. And they made it to the Final Four.
I know, and I remember that game real well too. We were in Florida. We were lucky enough to save pennies and quarters, like Randy Bleeker says, put them in the jar and go on vacation. But I was down there when they were in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah.
And those girls, that last game that they played, just was something not quite there. What can you pinpoint it?
Well, we did have a pretty major injury going into that the semifinal game.
Right?
Yeah.
She rolled her ankle.
So, yeah.
Player slid a foot under her and kind of she rolled her ankle.
Now, what was amazing to me during that time, too, was these two. Listening to them hop back and forth between the men's and the women's for like a week, 2-week period. That was awesome.
Crazy. That week, how many miles was it?
I can't even remember. I think it was like 3,000 miles or something. We started in Marquette, obviously, with men's basketball at the GLIAC tournament, and then ended up going to the women's game at Grand Valley. They played in the NCAA tournament. We did the first game there. Went and did 2 men's games in Indianapolis. Went back to Grand Valley for the championship game on the women's side, and then back to Indy for the men's championship game. And then, a week later, we did it from St. Joseph, Missouri to Evansville.
Right.
It was a lot of fun. And, going back to earlier, just being on the air with Sandy is, it's awesome. And, we have a great friendship, great relationship, and we enjoy spending time together in the car. And, if I had someone that wouldn't be willing to do that and wasn't fun to be around, it wouldn't make it a lot of fun.
It would not be a lot, especially going back and forth between St. Joseph, Missouri, and Evansville, Indiana, and going back and forth, and that was like a couple hours each way. And so, but we talked about it, and we said, let's do it. We could have just said, well, let's split the team up and let's try to figure it out, and one team be in one place. But we both wanted to be a part of two very special seasons, the women's basketball season and the men's basketball season. And man, it was awesome. I think we only missed one game. I think it was the women's Ashland game. I think that was the only one where we had a conflict and we just couldn't make it work.
Well, the men's was like that season overachievers, weren't they?
I think they maximized, yeah.
Yeah, and because during the season we were going to be lucky to get anywhere, and then all of a sudden, boom. So
the GLIAC is
girls,
so tough. The GLIAC is so tough.
I know it is, yeah. It's fun to watch, like I tell people in the community, you want to watch a good game, you go to boys and girls basketball up there. Them ladies tough. Was it an overachiever for the girls too this year, or were they kind of expected to do well?
I think, we did. I think ultimately in the end we overachieved. I don't think anybody expected us to beat Grand Valley or to beat Ashland, but, they had some kids that, were around the program for 4 or 5 years, two talented seniors in particular, and Chloe Idoni and Mallory McCartney that, invested a lot of time. And, I think they saw the, kind of the reward of what they put in over the course of their careers.
Now, his name's Kurt, the coach for the gals.
Kurt Westendorf, yeah.
Yeah, where'd he come from?
Well, he used to be here. He was an assistant coach here when Tracy was here as our head coach. He was an assistant under her, and then he went with her to Valparaiso. And then he was a head coach for a few years.
Yeah, a head coach in California at NAI school, and then wanted the job and came back. And, I think he's been a great hire and obviously has done a great job with our program.
Oh, yeah, he has. That's good to see. How about soccer at Ferris? You say you announce that too?
Yeah, we do that on the video stream with Flow Sports, which is the GLIAC has a partnership with Flow Sports, and it's been a lot of fun. I didn't know a whole lot about soccer until I started doing it 4 or 5 years ago. I knew a little bit, but it's a lot of fun to call those home games, and they've got a great program as well, and I think we're off to a good start this year, and hopefully have a chance to get back. A couple years ago they were in the Final Four.
Can I give a little promo for next week now?
Go ahead, yeah.
So next week we'll have Justin Fox and hopefully Greg Henson on the Ferris soccer coaches, along with Bill Heidens, the Big Rapids soccer coach. So those are our guests next week. So thanks for the segue.
Well, that's going to be a big soccer episode right there.
Right.
And, it's great to have Justin. I've known Justin for a long. No, Rob has too. Known Justin for a long time. Covered his soccer teams at Big Rapids High School for so many years, and he has really fit in really well on that staff.
We knew he would.
Yeah. He's awesome. Good people.
What? How do you just real quickly? How do you announce soccer? I guess I've never listened to it.
There's a little more downtime, I guess, when you compare it to football or basketball. You try to fill the time. There is a lot of ball movement there, so there's a lot of times you get to call somebody's name, and it's a lot of different people. For us, it's hard to see across the field, just the width of the soccer field. Always be able to read the numbers as you get older, but it is fun and it's enjoyable.
Did you listen to somebody else in that sport and say, okay, I got to kind of follow what he's...
No, not really.
Okay.
No, I haven't really listened to a whole lot of soccer. Just kind of picked it up. So
yeah, but I know when Perk came to town, when they were looking for an AD, I asked him, why did you want to come to Ferris? And he said to me, he goes, because you got some great programs here. You got a lot of winners coming in here, and we can make it win. You're talking about wins. The other night, yeah. A couple weekends ago, we had siblings weekend up Traverse City. We went to a winery up there. Not that we're winos, but it's just beautiful scenery up there. I don't like wine myself, but it's beautiful.
It is.
So we're up on top there, and we're sitting there, my family and I, and here comes Bob Daniels and his wife for 1 year, celebrating their first year anniversary. And I'm sure he didn't want to see me up there, but he did. I hollered up, Bob, is that you? And boy, what a tremendous human being he is. And we were very fortunate back in the day. I remember, I think he was an assistant before he was the head for Mancino, right?
Yep, Bob Mancini, yep.
Bob Mancini, yeah. And he kept Ferris hockey. I remember turbulence we had. That was before your time, way before your time.
Yep.
But I said in those meetings back in those days up at the country house how to save hockey. But anyway, it didn't take much once Frank Wheatlake got involved and Randy Bleekers and Suzanne Waltz. I just remember those names, and
Thank goodness.
yeah, they're great people and great for the community, and they stood up, and others did too. But
And it's hard to believe this Friday will be
50th
starting
year.
the 50th season of Ferris State Hockey.
Crazy.
really,
50th season.
wow, yeah. And well, it's hard to believe I'm 70, but anyway, but I am. I don't act it, I know. But anyway, being that said, Bob has lasted probably, isn't he the longest hockey coach years? I mean, how many years has he been doing it now?
This will be his 33rd season as the head coach, and I think there's one or two other guys in college hockey that are kind of like him, but he's definitely one of the top 2 or 3 in terms of longest active coaches here in the country.
I know his players talk highly of him after they leave, but that's got to be a tough job because, you can't play everybody and you're going to have disgruntled people, but he has very few of those, and year in and year out, he's always very strong. He's had a rough go lately, but the competition is greater now than ever before, maybe or not?
Yeah, it certainly is, and I think a lot of the rules changes have kind of impacted some of the schools that have Division I hockey that aren't full Division I members. A lot of kids with the NIL and some of the scholarship changes. There's obviously a lot of them want to end up at a Michigan or a Big Ten school, and it's harder to get those kids to come to Ferris State and want to stay when they have success for 4 years.
Yeah.
I think one thing I would also say, and Rob could speak to this even more than I could, when you see Ferris's hockey golf outing and you see all the guys that come back every year, it sells out every year. It sells out, and you got NHL guys that are coming back, to be a part of that golf outing, and a lot of that is because of what Bob and Drew and Mark and Dave, what they've done with that program to keep those guys coming back. Those guys look forward to coming back. You got NHL head coaches coming back, coming to our golf outing. I mean, it's crazy.
I know it. Isn't that amazing? He's mentored a lot of coaches, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He has.
Over the years. Yeah, he's had some great players, too. But you remember you were around for the Frozen Four. You announced that one.
I didn't announce it, but I was on.
Oh, you did?
I was the media coordinator, I guess, for us when we went to the Frozen Four.
Who was that then?
It was so my former assistant Dominic Hennig was play-by-play voice for 7 or 8 years, and ironically, he's another guy that in the hockey world has kind of moved up. He's now working for the Minnesota Wild, so just got hired this summer as not on the announcing side, but on the team services side. So he's finally made kind of what was his goal when he came to Ferris State was to go to the NHL.
You don't want to leave, do you?
It got tougher and tougher to leave when you have kids that are invested in the community, and it's a great community, and we love being here at Ferris State and Big Rapids, and work with outstanding people every day in our department and across the university and in town.
Well, did you teach yourself to do what you do? I mean, have you always talked the way you're talking right now?
Yeah, pretty much.
Isn't that a gift, Brian, though?
Right.
I mean, I just think it's a tremendous asset for anybody. I wished I could talk that fast and be that clear. I mean, isn't he, Sandy? And then you follow up on, you are very clear, too. So everybody listens to your message when you talk, and the play-by-play by him. You two are just one
my
great
parents
team.
probably thought I was crazy when I turned down the volume years ago when I was a kid, and I was calling, Tigers games, and I was calling the Lions and the Pit. Yeah, he did. I would turn down, and I don't know. Maybe I don't seem quite so crazy now because it paid off. But again, just working with Rob has been fantastic, and I think it's like I don't know how many years. I don't know exactly how many years it is for him, but I think it's year 19 for me doing basketball at Ferris, and I think it's 18 for football. So
you're very clear too. You do a great job too. The both of you. We're very fortunate to have both of you.
I couldn't think of anybody else outside of you two to be doing our games.
No, and I mean you're really entertaining. And that being said, there's very few people out there that can be said about. Because, I mean, you're in a position where you have critics. You're going to have somebody say, he's not very good. You don't have that. You two, I've never heard of anybody.
I'll tell you what, when I came back, when we came back from American International, and people were saying, man, you made that game sound really interesting. I'm thinking, yeah, it was a little tough. That was a tough game.
I never thought it'd be that tough to call a game when you win 84-7, but it was a little more challenging.
It was challenging.
Well, your voices have that spark in them, don't they, Brian?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, they do. I mean, like you say, it is pretty tough when you're up by that much to get excited about it. You know, I mean, instead of talking about, well, there he's got a grade point, 4.2.
But one of the things that, and I told people this, I went down on the field after the game and somebody said, man, that must have been kind of challenging. I said, the one way that I look at it is each kid that comes in, if it's a third or fourth stringer that's coming in, that's a highlight play for them.
Yeah,
right.
And they deserve it. They deserve that energy. And so that's one of the reasons that I think we do such a good job of keeping that energy as high as possible, because that third or fourth string guy that gets in there, they want to play hard and they want to impress the coaches. They might be a redshirt freshman or sophomore that wants to play next year.
Yeah. Boy, year in and year out, talking about football a little bit, there's no slowdown, is there? Those guys work every year like this is the new year. It's the beginning 0-0. And that first game they came out to, that was a tough one. What do you think if they played them again, it would be a different result?
I think it would be a different result. I think, it was the first game, for a lot of our guys, especially at the quarterback position. And, it was a tough environment to go in and play like that. And, I think they've really put it together offensively since that first game. And, the defense has been good throughout, I think, in the first 4 games of the year. But the offense, has really came on and right now playing some outstanding football.
Yeah, it's too bad about the first quarterback gets hurt, but that second quarterback's shining right now, isn't he? He stepped up to the plate pretty good.
Yeah, I think when Carson went down, and obviously that's really difficult for everybody down on the field. It was very difficult for them, and for us, it's tough. We're so far away, and we still got to call the game, and we have great respect for Carson Golker, and he was gracious to come on the radio with us after that injury. After he had surgery and he came back, and he got a lot of love from people when he came back, and but the team really rallied around him. And, I think Trinidad Chambliss, our starting quarterback now, I think he rallied after that. And they scored a touchdown because he made that long run. If you remember when he got hurt, he made a long run and just missed getting a touchdown. And those guys were able to punch it in for him. And they've been playing hard.
How much, what do you think Ferris does, or I should say athletics do for Ferris as a whole? Years ago, I remember the president and the vice, they were thinking about going to Division III and then intramural on some of the teams before your time. And they asked me, I says, at Ferris, our representation to the community is athletics more than any other scholar program. What do you think the importance is to sports to a college?
I think, it's often been said that athletics is kind of the front porch to the university. And, I think that holds true. I think it's really helped us with the success we've had in athletics, raise the profile of not only the university, but also the community of Big Rapids in West Michigan. I think we have a president right now that understands that and, really supports athletics, probably more so than Ferris State's ever had, just because he came from an athletic background, was a coach, was a former student athlete, was an administrator in athletics. So I think it does raise the profile of the university, and ultimately, you hope it helps in the admissions process and attracting more students here to this campus.
And I think it has. I think when you look at the success of football, you mentioned 2018. I mean, we got a chance. We had 2 national championship games in 2018. We had a basketball national championship game. We had a football national championship game that year, and you could see people around the country getting exposed to Ferris State, and then they start to ask. Well, you guys are known for criminal justice, right? You guys got a great criminal justice program. Well, you guys got the Michigan College of Optometry here. You guys got a long-standing pharmacy program, and it gives us an opportunity to introduce Ferris State. It gives us an opportunity to introduce the city of Big Rapids, Mecosta County. It gives us a chance to introduce that to people that might not otherwise find out about the great things that we have on campus and in our communities.
Yeah, I know it brings some great people like Tia. I was telling you about hers and her girls there. I asked them what brought them to Big Rapids, and they said the environment, that they just love the environment that Tia shares with them. The other thing I was going to ask you is Jen wants a question answered by, I think, Sandy, right? Right, Jen?
Why do you always put me on the spot, Pat? This is your show. You should take
whatever.
the reins.
No, this is the Sandy.
Oh, no. Actually, there's always a defining moment when you're an athlete. and sometimes it's a hard moment, whether it be a loss or a play or something. Can you, either one of you, have a moment in your life where it wasn't a good thing, but it turned out to be a good thing later on, now that you think about it?
Ooh.
Is it related to our athletics work?
Yeah. Yep.
I'll start. I think when the 2018 football national championship game, we had a run, 16 weeks, right? 16 weeks of the season. We had been on the road and we had to play a number of road games, and we score a touchdown. They were up, and we score a touchdown. It's 49-47. We had a chance for a 2-point conversion. It's right off the fingertips of our receiver, our Harlan Hill, the National Player of the Year quarterback, just missed that. And it's like, in that instance, it's like, it's over. And the run is over. It's like it was an incredible run. It was absolutely, the football run was incredible. Coming up, we had a basketball national championship early in the year where we won a really close game, and then we lost a really close game, and it was tough, but you felt good about where the program was headed, and you felt like we're going to turn that corner at some point with Coach Anise, and we did turn that corner. But I would say that was the tough moment for me.
That's a very good one. Rob, time out.
I was going to say,
Bob. I know, but Bob's got a.
Oh, no. Go ahead and answer the question, and we'll take a break. That was just kind of a preemptive.
I was going to say, going back to, I think it was 2012 or 2013 when Bill Saul left. He was the head coach here at Ferris State.
Yeah.
And, I was part of the search committee when we went to hire the next head coach. And we had a couple candidates that, ultimately were probably the front runners for the position that, for whatever reason, turned it down and didn't want to be here at Ferris State. And, we were kind of left with the third candidate, who was an internal one, had been the assistant coach, and Andy Bronkema, and he got the job. And
that turned out well.
And it turned out very well. Never really looked back. And, he took that, I think, as a challenge, and had a chip on his shoulder. And I think, in a lot of ways, he still has that every time his team takes the floor.
Yeah, I think that's a good one, too, yeah. Bob, take your break.
All right, we'll be back in 30 seconds here on Currie's Hot Stove League.
I got a meeting.
Come say cheers at Zott's Bar and Grill in Big Rapids. Great food, great prices, and great people, where everybody knows your name. Zott's, people's choice for best soup. You don't want to miss their award-winning burgers and chili as well. Originally opened in 1933 and serving it up ever since. Seasonal beers on tap. Located at 732 North State Street in Big Rapids. Roxanne and Doug at Zott's Bar and Grill are proud sponsors of the signature Player of the Week for the Currie's Hot Stove League every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. All right, we're back.
All right, we're back. We're gonna wrap it up here a little bit, but I got a couple of questions for you guys. One is baseball. That was a great tradition for Ferris State. Now that we have a president that loves athletics, have you heard any talk up there, Scuttle, about bringing baseball back?
I know that there were some conversations this summer about baseball, and a lot of it is from former players that would love to see the program reinstated. To give kids the same opportunities they had when they played college baseball here under Judd Folsky at Ferris State or whoever it was. And I think there is some interest in doing that, but there also are some challenges with where we're at in terms of Title IX and the sports we currently offer here at Ferris State. I know there's some plans out there to potentially add another women's sport. We just added stunt, which is a form of cheerleading, which is a varsity sport that's going to start next fall. And a large reason that was added is to help with those Title IX numbers and to help also attract another 40 or 50 students here to Ferris State University. So, there is some interest, but, I think there's some work that has to be done to, really solidify the sports we currently offer and find out where exactly we are in terms of, adding the numbers. Having football and hockey, it's a challenge because there's a lot of athletes on those two teams in particular.
Yeah, it's too bad because baseball, it's an all-American sport.
That was baseball was I think the last year of baseball here was my freshman year, and I remember I went to Win Kellum, and we were playing Michigan, and I got a chance to actually, I don't get a lot of autographs, but Bill Freehan was the coach of Michigan, and I got a chance to meet him and get his autograph, and that was a special moment.
my dad and Judd were very good friends. Judd is another one of those coaches that got involved with Big Rapids. Everybody knew Judd and Monica, and she coached up there in softball, I believe. But anyway,
she coached almost everything.
Yeah. So they were a big asset to Big Rapids, not just the community members. And anyway, so he had a great following. I remember my dad, Tom Cook, Tom Walsh, Jimmy Place, all those guys go to all their games. And Judd made sure they got involved. And he invited my dad and I had my two little boys, Adam and Matt, at the time. I don't know, they were 7 and 4 probably, or 7 and 9, whatever they were. And he invited them to be the Bat Boys. And who were we playing? University of Michigan and Ann Arbor. And so prior to the game, Bill Freehand and Judd were talking there at the batter's box, and he had my boys come out and took a picture with him and this and that. Yeah, but Judd, he's never too big of a man to be just a good human being. And I'll never forget, the other thing is they took the bus. We rode down the bus, and they didn't stop for lunch. Everybody had a sack lunch, So he was very conservative with his budget. And when they came to, just to dismiss baseball, the talk was how much was the budget, and it was very cheap, but it was very expensive because the Title IX made them conform with that. That's sad. But anyway, it is what it is. I hope the hell they bring baseball back. But let's talk about baseball a little bit. You guys, I know, are Tiger fans. There's Greg Beaudry and all these guys out there that follow the Tigers over the years. I haven't so much because I just hate to lose. I hate to follow losers. But that's why I listen to you guys. You're winners. But Tigers this year, what do you think? Phenomenal, isn't it? And they won the first game 3-1.
Yeah, it's incredible. The run that they got on at the end of the year. And, they started out pretty well, early in the year. Baseball's a long season, 162 games. And, it had a little bit of a lull. And people were kind of wondering, but man, they have been hot as fire, lately, and they've been packing that stadium, and people have just been excited about Tiger baseball, and it's Detroit is a big sports town. I mean, I grew up when I grew up in my era as a kid, the '84 Tigers, and it's unfortunate Brian had to leave because I know he remembers that era very well, I think it's a baseball town in a lot of ways, and it's a football town too. I mean, as we saw Monday Night Football, Ford Field was rocking for Monday Night Football too, and so. But yeah, it's been great, and then to get a win in Game 1 and a chance to close that out against Houston, I mean, that would be fantastic.
What do you think, Rob?
I love the way they're playing right now. It was a great win yesterday, and I think I agree with Sandy. Just the energy in Detroit right now with the Tigers, the Lions, and what's going on here over the last month or so is really exciting.
How about the Lions this year? Any predictions there?
I think they're going to have an outstanding season, and I think this is obviously a playoff team. We'll see if they can take that next step and, try to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they had a little bit of a stumble against Tampa, but, since then they've bounced back, and, Jared Goff was literally perfect on Monday Night Football. I mean, he was outstanding, and just the way they run the football, their offensive line is coming together. The defense has been really good. We got to avoid injuries. Obviously, we got to avoid key injuries. They get a bye week this week, so hopefully they'll heal up. But they're a dynamic team. They look really great right now.
How come in the media right now, on social media anyway, they're picking on Kansas City Chiefs so bad about the refs? What's your thoughts on that, you guys? Is that just a marketing ploy for them to get up on the charts on being well known throughout the United States and the world? Because one guy gets on there, and I don't know if it's true or not, but they said there wasn't, not in any of their Super Bowl appearances, there was a hold on them called. Is that true?
I don't know. That's a good. That'd be a good one to look up.
Yeah,
everybody always thinks the other team is holding, and they're not holding. And
but why are they picking on them so much? You think just because they're Super Bowl champs?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the Chiefs. You got Travis Kelce, and you got Taylor Swift, and they got Patrick Mahomes, and so and they're one of those teams, and I don't have a dog in the fight here, but they're just one of those teams that they're just polarizing. Some people really love them, and some people love to hate them, and they're just one of those teams.
I think a lot of that we see it in Division II football, just the success that we've had at Ferris State. It feels like our team is getting called for more penalties than the other teams are. And sometimes that's they're justified, but sometimes it needs to be called on both sides, and I think it's due to a lot of it is due to the success that we've had.
Yeah.
Now, this year it looks like we're going to do well again in football at Ferris State. Going against Grand Valley's probably, I know they're not looking ahead, but I am. I'm thinking that's the only game that really is going to be the one that's going to count. I mean, as far as we got to beat those guys, what's going to take to beat them?
It's been the game the last few years. Obviously, the winner of that game has had the inside track to the conference championship, to being able to host in the playoffs. I think that's headed in that direction again. There's some big games for both teams. Grand Valley's got to play at Davenport this week, which maybe is the next best team in the GLIAC. But I think for our guys, they see it as a challenge to go down there and try to win in that environment. And obviously last year we went down there and had some mistakes and turned the football over, and we can't do that. If we hope to pull out a win.
Yeah,
we're not turning it over like we were, are we?
I think we've, I think a couple areas where we've taken some strides. I think really taking care of the football. In terms of turnovers, we had some turnovers in the first game against Pittsburgh State, an excellent program, a top 5 program at the time with us, and that hurt us in that game. But since then, the guys have done a good job of cleaning up not only the turnovers but also penalties. Those are 2 points of emphasis that I think for Coach Anise and the staff to really clean those up. And you're going to need to. Obviously Grand Valley's really good, but Rob mentioned Davenport, led by a Ferris State alum, Sparky McEwen, a former Ferris State assistant coach as well. And they're certainly a team to keep an eye on. Saginaw Valley's playing good football right now. Michigan Tech's playing good football. But obviously Grand Valley's the game that a lot of people are certainly going to be looking forward to.
Did they lose very many players, Grand Valley, last year's champion years?
I'd say it's similar to us in terms of they lost a few key people at certain positions, but they've got, the bulk of their team back and, a lot of depth and a lot of talent. I think they're a little bit like us as well. They're trying to find who that number 2 quarterback is going to be now. With us, we were pretty confident we had 2 outstanding quarterbacks, and unfortunately, we lose Carson Golker. So, we really need to find out who that next guy is. And, Coach Anise is kind of working through that, played 3 or 4 different guys this past weekend, and they were able to get a lot of quality reps.
Boy, it's kind of nice though. I mean, you guys are great announcers, but it's kind of nice to have great teams to announce for, isn't it?
It is.
Just
we've been on both sides of it. I mean,
I know.
We've called some tough seasons.
Back in the day,
we've called some tough seasons. But you're right, Pat. It's a lot of fun when the team is winning. Not only for us to be able to call the games, but I think what it does in the community, on campus and in the community, it really uplifts a lot of people. The students really want to come out to the games. Faculty and staff want to come to the games. Community members want to come out. And it just really brings everybody together. It's just winning is fun. I mean, that's not breaking news here. So, no. Bob, that's not breaking news. But it does bring people together.
Yeah. What do you say to a young man coming up that listens to you and Rob here? And I'm telling you, you guys are very, very good. I know I'm blowing smoke again, but I mean that. I just enjoy your guys' conversations on the radio, your play-by-play. Rob, what do you say to a young guy who wants to emulate you? What do you say to him?
I get a few students every now and then that want to come in and want to do some broadcasting, and we've had some students that have went on and been broadcasters. My assistant right now, Brody Kaiser, does our hockey games. He kind of came through and got some opportunities. I tell him that stick with it. Kind of find your niche. What sport you want to call, and then try to listen to as many people as possible, and just follow some people that do an outstanding job, and pick up some of those same traits and those same skills.
I would agree. I would echo that. I grew up in Detroit, obviously, as we talked about, and listening to Ernie Harwell and Paul Currie and George Kell and Al Kaline calling Tigers games, and Mark Champion calling Lions football games, and the great George Blaha calling Pistons games. That's where I learned. Dave Strader and Mickey Redmond calling Red Wings hockey. That's where I just study those people that I really admire, and then some of the national guys. Pat Summerall and John Madden, to me, were people that I grew up watching. I mean, sometimes I wanted to just watch just because of their call, even if it was like Dallas and Washington playing, and I'm a Lions fan. But I just find who you like and just learn from each person, what they do well and how they do it.
But now it comes to this. How do you keep doing it without getting sick once in a while? You ever come up horseback?
I did have a game. Ironically, I've had a couple games. I went to Wisconsin Parkside, I think back in, it was right before COVID, 2020. We played a basketball game there, and, I had started having an issue with my eye. and I got there to do the game, and I couldn't see out of one eye. So I ended up having a detached retina from playing a little too much basketball myself. But so I had to do that game without one eye. I actually missed a couple games that Sandy and some others had to fill in for. And then a couple years later, we went back to Wisconsin Parkside, and I lost my voice, and I was there by myself. He wasn't on the road with me, and I found a way to fight through it, but it wasn't a very good sounding broadcast.
I felt bad. I was listening to I just felt so bad, but yeah, for the most part, we've had good streaks. I had one. I had a blew out my knee playing basketball, and my surgeon was like, "Hey, you got to have this surgery on Saturday morning." I guess I'm not going to come to the football game then. And I had another one where I was in the hospital with an issue, and I couldn't call a game. But other than those two, I think, just for football, I've just only missed those two.
Top of the hour, Bob.
Yeah, WBZX Big Rapids.
Closing out your careers. I'm not wishing you guys as any careers going over.
Closing out.
No, but there's no age limit on announcers. So, blink, man, it goes fast. I mean, you've been doing how many years, Rob, here again?
This is my 25th season at Ferris State.
Unbelievable. Sandy, how many years?
At Ferris State working.
Yeah.
This is 17 years for me working, and as I mentioned, 19 calling basketball and 18 calling football.
So, how many more years you guys think, or you doesn't even enter your thought
it
process,
doesn't. Ironically, I just turned 50 a couple days ago, so but I don't see the end in sight right now. So
because like most jobs, a guy will work to 62, Social Security or 65. I myself still work a little bit, but in January I think I'm gonna shut her down for me. But so you guys will go on as long as your voices are there and having fun, right?
Yeah, I certainly can see that on the broadcast side. Obviously, the broadcast is something we get to do that's a lot of fun. But it's not our full-time job. We're working during the day, and oftentimes people don't see it during a game, but we're doing other things, while we're broadcasting, whether it's updating social media accounts. Sandy's been there taking photos before while he's broadcasting. We have home basketball games, and if you see me doing a home game, I'm doing the broadcast, but I'm also tracking our statistics too for the teams. So there's a lot that goes into it that people don't see, and that's some of that other side of it. Would be harder to do for a long time.
Tell them.
The announcing side is a lot of fun.
Well, like in at American International, Rob's carrying it on the air, and I'm going down to the field because I got to go and get the guys for the post game interview, and so me and Brody Kaiser, Rob's assistant, we're down there trying to rally people at home. Rob and his team do a great job of hosting a post-game press conference, and there's a lot that goes into setting that up, running down, getting the player and getting two players and the head coach, and getting them back up there, getting things set up, and making sure the media have everything that they need. And so all this stuff it's like chaos. It's like organized chaos behind the scenes, and then people are like, how much prep work do you guys do for the game? Well, we do some prep work too. We got to do that too. But there's so much that's going on behind the scenes, but it's a lot of fun.
Well, and that's what I was saying, Bob. You watch these guys as we're interviewing here. One thing they both have for sure is a big smile on your face. You guys love it. You're very passionate about your jobs, aren't you?
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's been good. Fun. So how many hours a week is it, Rob?
I don't even track it. I don't know.
No, you don't, do you?
I don't. And, I have a lot of nights where we end up, last night we had a volleyball team in action. I was playing a little fall softball last night with some friends and got home, and we had to do a volleyball recap and do some stuff to update our website. So there's a lot of nights like that, but it's a lot of fun work, and really doing what we can to help promote our teams and our university.
Yeah, I tell you what, he's being modest because he's sending out press releases at like 11 p.m. and sometimes later than that. And that's what and a lot of it's because our teams, they may be on the road, they may be far away. There may be a challenge getting results, but Rob does a great job. Rob and Brody do a great job of getting those releases out and as quickly as they can. And after a football game, there's so much going on after a football game, and then try to get that recap out pretty quick. And so there's a lot going on, and Rob and his guys do a great job.
So how many hours you think you guys put in a week, Sam?
Oh my God! Well, you think about a football game, just like one football game.
Yeah.
Him more so than me because he's got to do a little bit more setup than I do. But I usually get there about at least 3 hours before the game. So, for example, this weekend we do a 2-hour pregame show. So So 3 hours before the game, so at least an hour before the pregame show, a 2-hour pregame show. The game is 3.5 hours, then a 1 hour postgame show, and then you wrap up after that. So it's like, it's a full work shift, to call one football game.
But it goes fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does.
Well, we'll recap your life real quick. What's the best football team you ever saw, Rob?
As far as Ferris State,
yeah.
I would say our 2021 team, the first team that we had that won a national championship, went 14-0, and I think coming off the COVID year, they were a team that was well positioned to compete for a championship, and had a dominating postseason. I think that'd be the team for me.
Yeah, I would agree. Jared Bernhardt coming in just kind of lit the world on fire, and our defense was really dominant at the same time too. And like Rob said, and I think it's absolutely true, those guys came back from COVID and they missed a season. Who knows? We could have won a national championship in that year that we could not play. Right. And so those guys had went out and worked jobs. They did all kinds of things, and then they came back to, hey, let's take another run at it. And we had a special season, undefeated season.
Well, Bob, we've been luckier than heck to have these two professionals on today. I really appreciate it. Love both of you. Like I say, I've known you both for a long, long time, and we are so fortunate in Big Rapids and the community of Ferris State to have you guys here, play-by-play guys. I know you're very passionate and love Big Rapids. I appreciate that. That's a great compliment to our community. And so people out there listening today are saying to themselves, we are important to a lot of people's lives. It's a great community, isn't it?
We appreciate you.
Yeah. So anyway, any other last words, Rob? Bentley and Sandy Gholson, what do you guys say at the end of the games?
We usually thank the fans for tuning in, but I'm going to thank you for having us on, and thanks to Bob and everyone here for having us on today.
Go Dogs.
All right, you bet. God bless America.
All right, we want to thank Roxanne and Doug.
Yeah,
Sox.
we do. Yeah, that's right. Can't forget the old lineman and the cook, can we? I hope her foot's getting better. Stop in at Zots if you want a good bowl
your
of
birthday
chili
party
or
tomorrow.
Birthday party's tomorrow night.
Yeah, your weekly birthday party.
The greatest soup on earth. God bless. All right.